Hi, welcome to class. Today in class, what we focused on was just a quick reminder. Please don't forget your questions of the day. The geography settle assignment we did on Tuesday, and there is a video titled "Video for Geography Settle" for you to do that. So please make sure you do. This grading period is ending on Friday, so please, any late work, you have till Friday at midnight to try to get any of those assignments turned in for full credit. But what we did today, we did do geography influencing power. So what we had to do on that one, please make sure you do the warm up on my screen. I do not have it filled out because I trust that you can answer this question about how does geography affect people's lives. A lot of classmates had answered things like it influences culture, it influences what you eat. Any of those are very suitable answers. Geography does affect a lot. I always think of the changing of seasons. I grew up in Cleveland, so I was used to a lot colder weather and owned a lot of winter coats versus when I moved to Kentucky, I didn't need as many because it doesn't get as cold. Um, so yeah, you put your own answer for that. What we did for the rest of this, you're trying to find the connection between geography and power. So we kind of talked about power can look very different. Power can just be simply how are they functioning? Power sounds like what it means, like how does one person rise above everyone else? But really focusing on how does that geography create power? I really do strongly encourage you to please try to read these on your own. A lot of feedback I've gotten is these are a little bit easier. Because if you try to put stuff in your own words, you'll do a lot better with these assignments. So looking at the first one, we looked at the Mayans. So this is a few answers the first class came up with. That Mayans really used rivers to travel from place to place, which allowed them more ground to cover. It helped with trade routes. It helped with expansion. That's going to give that Mayan civilization power because they had access to all of these rivers. These rivers were served as passageways for canoes from one city to another. But access to rivers is very important to power. We then talked about Incas. It had the Spanish word, which translates to a set of roads. That, again, we learned on Tuesday. Incas lived in the mountains. This source is going to talk about the Andes, which is not a candy. It is, believe it or not, mountain ranges. That they had a very elaborate system of roads, which that sounds so silly because we take advantage of the fact that we have roads. But back then, a lot of people didn't have roads. You just kind of walk through the forest or you walk through a mountain. That they created a road system that was very elaborate that allowed people to travel easily amongst different towns. But it did act as a good form of defense because only Incas really understood their pathways for their roads. So when Spanish came over to attack, they had a hard time attacking the Incas. But it allowed for better communication, trade. Any of those things is going to give you power. Um, we then talked about Aztecs, which is similar to what we talked about on Tuesday. And this picture is a really good picture to describe what they're talking about if you've never seen these. Chinapas, which is Spanish for floating garden. But the Aztecs knew they didn't have enough land, so they literally grew their own land with mud and lake material, which gave them fertile land to grow things. Another student wrote that it was kind of like creating a tiny little island that Aztecs were able to expand. This gave them more power because more land you have, the more power you have. Mississippian. Keep in mind, Mississippi does not mean the state, so please don't refer to it as a state. It is a Native American region, so it includes things like Shawnee, Cherokee, Iroquois. It's a group of Native Americans. But with this one was a really cool fact. So please, I again encourage you, please read this. It's a really fascinating one to read. Um, but their chief, so the head person in charge, it was believed they rose from the sun, that they were actually a child or descendant of the sun, that they could cause the harvest on time, and they got better treatment. So people, because of this belief about them basically being a descendant of nature, they got special privileges for housing, for food. They got power because of this, of believing that they were related to a sun god, which is very fascinating. Most cultures have something like that. So once you get these four things, again, you can hit pause to try to copy, but I do encourage you to try to do this on your own. And I apologize, my dog is coming in to say hello. Once you get done with this, you may turn it in. Don't forget to do the warm up. The next thing I told them to do was the FPT geography influence. This is like your exit slip. Okay, so for this one is like your exit slip. So the question reads, explain how the ruler of each society used geography to keep or stay in power. We didn't specifically give an example of just one person. So when you refer back to this, you're basically picking one civilization. So say maybe you like the Incas and talk about the Incas, that how did the Incas rise to power? How did the road system give them power? Okay, so please try to put this in your own words. Please don't just copy and paste what you already wrote. Try to really explain yourself and say the Incas rose to power because they had an elaborate road system. Having a good road system helps because, and try to explain it to yourself. But again, just choose one of these and really explain it, which means you might have to go back to the actual source to really read and pull out better examples that maybe be specific and talk about the Andes and be specific. Once you turn that in, that is it for the week. Thanks.